wants to improve their health and well-being. Join us on this thrilling ride towards better health on WESN Content Capital.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
This is 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. The distance from where we should be in the world in going forward on our commitments with climate change.
The effects of climate change that cannot be accounted for, it's called loss and damage. And we're seeing loss and damage happening so much more in this decade and the previous decade.
The principal term there was this question of the corresponding banking issues.
That is why we're trying to build capacity with this country here, Trinidad and Tobago, and other countries in the region. Man
is not showing any signs of stopping or even slowing down. More than half of the forest in Trinidad is already gone.
All the plants and all the animals and all of the nice clean water and fresh air and everything had to be on this planet for humanity to have a chance.
We have small change when it comes to countries that can take decisions, and when they speak, the world listens.
The General Assembly is a very democratic forum. And Trinidad and Tobago has the same vote as Canada, in spite of the obvious difference in size.
We are tackling the hard-hitting topics, some controversial topics, some topics we sweep under the rug. You don't always have to forgive in a relationship for it to move forward.
If it is you are in a situation where you forgive the person, but to the detriment of yourself, what are you really doing?
It is very uncommon for somebody in the younger age group to have dementia.
Atheists don't not believe.
Is that I can't disprove God, but you also can't prove God, so we cannot have a stalemate.
We'll focus on the woman who's being the victim, right, or the man who's being the victim. We exclude the children.
Folks are trying to study the underlying brain mechanism to figure out how does this particular disorder happen in the brain? How is the brain processing this?
Don't worry about AI, worry about humans working with AI.
Are you willing to learn new skills to stay relevant for the future job market? That's the challenge that people are going to struggle with.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, The Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378, or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Good morning and welcome back to AM Prime. So before we jump into our second interview of the day, remember that you can find us on YouTube or Facebook, where you can leave your comments and suggestions for us to engage with you. Head to WESN.cc to engage with us now, and your comments can be featured on AM Prime. Now, as we continue, we have a very amazing and heartwarming story for you today. It's a story of kindness, resilience, and creativity. It's a trip back to the old days and a look into how people chose to survive when neighbors helped and communal living and economic support reigned king. It's a story of the breadfruit. You'd be amazed what can be unlocked with this simple fruit. So today in studio, we have Mr. Raul Bermudez, author of book, The Breadfruit 3. How are you doing, Mr. Bermudez?
Fine, thank you. And I'm going to use what you just said in my promotional material from now on. Thank you very much. Very kind of you.
Sure. Okay, so The Breadfruit 3. Where did that name come about?
For one, we toyed with many different names, but because the family is the lady and two children, a boy and a girl, we finally decided on a play of the, and people have told me, oh, you misspelled the word tree. Yes, but it's part of it. The book as it exists today is only part of the story.
Yes.
And the editors thought that it was too long for a children's book, but we'll soon be publishing the full story again and start giving it away the way we had. And we plan to put it online as a free download for whoever wants it, because there's a message in it that we need to get out. We can't wait for the book to sell and for word of mouth to recommend it to others for it to sell again. We're not in it to make money. We're in it to get the message of what a breadfruit tree can do for you out to the people.
So for our audience, it's a play on words. So we have the breadfruit tree, which is what we all know, a tree for breadfruit, and then we have the breadfruit 3, so T-H-R-E-E.
Yeah.
So why did you have that play on words? Is it because, as far as I know, when I read the book, it's
sorry,
it's 3 people, like a family, as the main characters. Do you want to touch on that a little bit more without giving away too much of the book?
No, but the book is there for everybody to see. We had tried different things, but we thought for children's sake, that's why when we had put it on for sale, the price we put on it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nice. Appealing to children, something.
Yeah.
And the 3, if it causes you to stop to contemplate the word, and decide, oh, he got it wrong, and so on, that's okay. That's enough for you to be. And you know, I walked through malls as I did with my wife yesterday, and people saw my T-shirt and recognized it.
Beautiful.
It's been a good exercise.
All right. So I kind of want to touch on the meat of the book. So do you see the story primarily as a guide to self-sufficiency, or do you see it as almost a social commentary on poverty and resilience?
It is somewhat autobiographical, yes, in that my mother widowed when she was very young, and I was the same age of the boy, 10 years old and so on. And she widowed with 7 children, 6 boys and 1 girl, so the story is very different then. But the full book, when it does come out, and it will soon, because it's in the last stages of editing, will be a blueprint that people can use to set up an industry. So far we have in the book the family taking the product to market and so on and so on. There is a beautiful underlying love story in the book, which when you finish reading, this first installment, you would say, well, it's a love story, it's love of breadfruit. But no, the farmer and the mother fall in love and get married and so on. And entrepreneurship steps in, where the mother and daughter set up a restaurant in Port Mall in Scarborough.
Yeah.
And the boy becomes me towards the end of the book, in that he starts reproducing trees, propagating trees, and giving them away in Tobago and so on.
I love the personal touch on it. So how would you say your work speaks to your inner child? I know, because I know it's a story that's there to you. Is it healing in a way to have written that book?
That's a wonderful question. And I'll have to sit down for a week to do the kind of search. But how the book came about is that since 2015, we have been buying breadfruit trees and giving them away. In all, between Trinidad and Tobago, we've given away more than 10,000 trees. And Tobago, which I love, got 1,500 of them. And it is the effect I have seen the trees has had on the families who have received them that inspired me. Because I've seen that, oh yes, they will sell some of them in front of the houses and so on, and they'll make some product with it and sell it to neighbors and so on. But I said, well, no, you could go further with it. The first installment of the book has some aspects of that, but when you get to read the full story, which will be put in online soon, you would realize that there's much more to it. So we're doing like a blueprint, but without forcing it. And we have to tell people that, yes, if you want to sell breadfruit chips, you have to get
breadfruit.
Breadfruit for starters, but you have to get packaging, you have to get labeling, you have to get sanitation permissions and so on, and you have to incorporate and whatever. So we're going to be saying that in a language a child can understand, but then the parent can step in, well, look, if we're going to go into this in a big way, let us go and look for the people this man says that we have to look for, the lawyer and the advertising agency and the print tree and so on. And it's a lovely story. And then what we're doing in the full book is that we are introducing things that are of Trinidad and Tobago, but they certainly exist in Tobago, where when the boy and the girl who sleep in the same room, they're getting older, she wants her privacy and so on. So we introduce the concept of gayap, which not everybody in the world, that's just a Caribbean thing.
I heard it, but I heard it, but what is it?
That's when the community gets together, and the owner of the house would cook a pot and whatever it is, and at times alcohol is involved, but the neighbors would come out and help build and so on. So we do that, and when there's a mention of it in the first book, where people who visit Tobago on ships go to the market, buy the chips and so on, and they're on their way up onto the boat again, and the captain sees them eating these things, inquires what it is, takes a sample, and he sends his procurement manager to order 1,000 packs every 2 weeks when they import. And the young boy says yes, knowing fully well that he couldn't fulfill an order like that. So the community now, and there forms a cooperative where everybody puts in some money and they're going to buy deep fryers and slicing machines and all sorts of things. So we explain that laced in a lovely little story. And of course, we're going to touch social things like drugs and so on, where the boy leaves school to go to attend his garden and so on, and the friends kind of tease him with it, and he says, well, come along, and some of them get hooked in the whole concept of producing food and so on.
So what this book is like a full teaching campaign for children?
I would love if government says, well, let's get it in all the schools and so
Yes.
on. I don't mind. I mean,
I mean, I would love that because it helps them to touch on the initiative that they want about growing economic stability and economic support and teaching entrepreneurship. So I think that this book is a great introduction for that.
Is that when at the beginning of the book, the mother sends the boy to buy a breadfruit because she's going to make an oil down. And on his way to the market, Farmer Brown asks him, where are you going, Anthony?
Yes.
And he says, I'm all excited that he's going to do this thing. And the farmer says, but why? Because this is a thing. A breadfruit tree costs $25. If you go to the market to buy a breadfruit, it will cost you around $35 because now they sell it by the pound. So, and he says, why would you buy one breadfruit when you could buy a tree that can give you 200 or 300 breadfruit every year? And the idea now, his father has died, that he could contribute that to his family and so on. He buys the breadfruit tree, comes home, and the mother, of course, as mother too, says, and what are we to eat today?
Yes.
And so he sends him back, and the farmer gives him a breadfruit and tells him keep the tree. And the story goes along that line. We are going to do the farmer and the children's mother eventually get married, but they're going to have a Mariah wedding. And if you know what Mariah wedding is in Tobago, it's a long procession and they dance in a certain way. And one of the elements in the procession is a lady with a breadfruit on her head and breadfruit leaves running down the back. So I'm going to introduce that and explain that Wikipedia will tell you that that lady signifies purity and virginity. It's neither of them are virgins anymore. But it's a nice thing that with all the possession of carrying suitcases and the head and food and baskets of fruit and so on, that they have that element of the... So like that, we're going to sneak in a lot for people who don't know Tobago. And I mean, I like to say that I've been to Tobago more times than I can remember or would ever want to forget, because we go all the time. Yes, my wife and I honeymoon there. And things were not as... We spent one night.
Really?
That's what we could have afforded then.
Okay.
And, but we made up for it because, I don't know, Tobago has an effect on my wife, darling, that I don't know if it's the water, the food, the people, or whatever it is.
I think because of this book, Tobago has an effect on you as well.
Yeah, no, definitely, because being there transforms her, and I enjoy the benefit of that. But it's a good thing. Sorry.
No, can you? I was going to just take the conversation a little bit further into private farming.
Yeah.
And how can you speak to the agribusiness in Trinidad and Tobago? Why is it that this particular breadfruit, but this particular industry is important to Tobago?
It's so important to Trinidad too. The beauty of breadfruit is that the food mass it produces, yes, is such, and a breadfruit requires no fertilizing, no treatment. All you have to do is wet the blooming thing every day, yes? And eventually, after years, it will start finding its own water on the ground. But, and even then, the more you wet it, the more fruit it produces and so on. So, and it's that all you need is to get one tree. Whereas other things, tomatoes, I mean, if you've ever tried tomato, I've tried many times and failed miserably. To grow anything else requires more knowledge, fertilizers and so on, where a breadfruit tree, you just stick it in the ground, wet it, and wait for it to happen. And there's an interesting thing, I don't know if it's taking you other places, but...
It's okay, let's go.
I used to be, for my nieces and nephews, growing up, a good storyteller.
Yes.
And it is only when I got into writing the book, because the book was never meant to be published. I started out at a skeleton of the book, and every time we'd go to Tobago, I'll get inspired and add a little more, and I'll put the date and add little aspects of it and so on. But we read things for our children, and a lady tells me, like, wanting to make less of what I did, says, oh, it's like Jack and the Beanstalk. And I say, do you know what that story is about? I say, similar to this, in that the mother sends the boy to the market with this skinny cow, and some magician or whoever it is trades it for some magical seeds and so on, and the mother throws it out the window. The following day, this beanstalk has grown. But what happens after? The boy goes up to thief.
Yes.
Yes. And after doing that 2 or 3 times, and the giant catches wind of it, 3, 5, 4, 5, starts chasing along. What does the boy do? He takes an axe, cuts the beanstalk, and does what? Kills the giant. And we read those stories for our children like nothing. Yeah?
Yes.
But it's a horrible story in itself. And actually, we do talk about that too. That over the last couple of 100 years, they have tried to sanitize that story and so on. And
can you?
There are a lot of stories. I'm carrying you other places and so on. But
this story.
It's a nice little thing.
So what I'm seeing is that this book in particular, because yes, it touches on the economic side of things and teaching children entrepreneurship and all of that, but the story is about breadfruit. So you're telling me about the importance of breadfruit. What are some of the benefits? Because I know in an article you were talking about how we can use breadfruit and how it's good for you. Can you tell us a little bit more about this powerful fruit?
The full book is going to talk about those things because the mother and daughter set up a restaurant.
Ooh.
And the neighbors and so on and members of the church, because we're going to talk about religion a little bit without offending anybody, start contributing recipes. And what we're going to do, while the story is being laced through the book, we're going to have little boxes that will have the recipe for oil down and so on. So as we name the aspects of it, we will be explaining the same way with the lawyer and the packaging and the labeling and so on. We're going to, with little boxes, explain that more for the parents. So be a guide for the parents and so on.
All right, so beyond breadfruit, do you see other local underutilized resources or foods that can help communities escape poverty?
There are many other things you can do. I have, you go to certain areas because we will fill the van with 200 trees and go central, go south, go to Tobago and so on. And we've done the Tobago thing 7 times or more. And people actually, châtaigne, I said, well, champion the cause of châtaigne.
Yes.
Châtaigne is much easier than breadfruit because châtaigne, you just put the seed, it grows, and you have a tree. Breadfruit is a little more involved. And part of the book is going to talk about the 5 different methods of propagating breadfruit. And we will concentrate on the one that we use here the most, which is air layering. Air layering is when you take the branch, you shave the bark, you put moss, and in 4 to 6 weeks, it has strong roots. You could cut it and plant it, and you have a breadfruit tree. And reproducing the tree is difficult. The price of the tree at Centeno, which is where we buy them, is ridiculous. Yes, when you see that the breadfruit tree is costing you less than a breadfruit, yes, how could you say no to that?
Yeah.
And if you don't mind me saying, in this climate we're in, I like to remind politicians who have not picked up on this thing. I mean, I'm feeding the people. You should be feeding the people too. Right. Is that I'd like to remind them that a breadfruit tree costs less than a T-shirt. Yes, this T-shirt you see me with costs $60 or more. Yes, whereas a breadfruit tree is $25. You know,
wow,
how could you? So I tell people when they come to your gate, ask them for your breadfruit tree. Yes, whatever.
So you've actually championed a cause where you, and how many? You said 10,000.
10,000. That 10,000 for a population our size.
Yes,
but we do not produce. I don't produce them myself. I buy them from the Ministry of Agriculture's outlet in Centeno. And as fast as they produce them, I buy them and I give them away. Yes, because if you know where Centeno is, darling, you have to make a sandwich to go there because it's a long drive. So somebody from deep south will never come because if you don't have your own vehicle, and you have to hire a taxi to take you. That tree will cost you a couple of $100, yes? And we either need to create outlets throughout the country where people could go and buy it for that price, or the government has to say, and so, darling, it has been difficult. I have offered the 41 members of parliament to set up a breadfruit forest, which is 105 trees that I would supply, I would plant, I will get somebody to wet, yes? And I'll offer them that, yes? There have been no takers.
None.
Yeah, because they're simply not interested. I think our politicians like to have people still cap in hand.
Begging out of the palm of their hands. I do think that this is a good initiative, especially because I was going to ask, how did you think that we can implement this into our economy, into our society? How do you propose policymakers utilize breadfruit? And you just said it, a breadfruit forest. How long will that take to set up? What does that entail?
Just to plant 105 trees. It's 2.5 acres of land, which I tell people, you find the 2.5 acres of land, give me permission to go and plant, and then I don't need to own it. Yes. But it has to be close to where the population is, so people could go and pick the. Darling, when you go up the islands, St. Lucia, Grenada, I've been to St. Lucia and some of the other islands, but my children who travel the islands often say, Daddy, there's a breadfruit tree in nearly every yard, yes? And in St. Lucia, the experience I've had is that people would park on the side of the road, trees that are planted on nobody's land, they'll just pick a couple of breadfruit and put it in a car to go home and so on. We need to, Barbados has started planting breadfruit trees on their highways, yes? For anybody to pick and carry home, yes, and it's...
At first I argued that people may not want to do that because it might be too tedious, but if you're saying other Caribbean countries are doing that as well, why do you think it's taken us so long? Oh, we're not even doing it.
You want to know where this idea was born? I was listening to the radio a day, and the Prime Minister, having won the election 10 years ago, comes up on his radio station, and he spoke for 5 hours about every imaginable thing. And one of the things he touched on was the food import bill. And he said words that you in this industry, you would have heard him repeat many times. We need to educate the taste buds of the children using the school feeding program. Let's get them to learn and love what we can grow here. And he said that, this week I was invited to lunch. You know what the menu was? And of course they couldn't guess. He says, breadfruit and peas. And I haven't had a delicious meal like that in the longest. We at home would buy breadfruit, cook it, eat it, and that was the end of that. I Googled breadfruit to find out what a wondrous food it is. Yes? And the following day I went and bought a breadfruit tree. And I wrote the Prime Minister a letter. He's not my friend, but what it is, but I sent him a letter saying, dear sir, when in 5 years' time you go with the people who put you in office and ask them to keep you there, if their lives have not changed in any other way other than the fact that by then, 5 years, they'll be eaten from a breadfruit tree you gave them. Yes? And a breadfruit tree takes 3 years to start producing, so the trees will be well established by then. And I went on to explain, I said, how much more expensive would an NHA house be if it had a breadfruit tree in the backyard? And the idea is that when architects come and divide up a plot of land where they're going to put 100 houses, you send somebody that you know where the house is going to be to plant the tree in the backyard. Some may not want it and cut it down when they get there, but most are going to, they will have fruit in it already, are going to keep it and so on. And the same way I said in the communities like Orupun, you have open spaces. Plant trees there so the people who live in the buildings can go, a mother can send a child pick 2 breadfruit. But to plant breadfruit trees in public areas in this country is impossible. Yes? Or CPEP would cut them down, whether they're told to cut them down or not, yes? And you ask for permission to plant, and they're simply not interested in having you do it.
That is very, very, very
It's sad, it's sad.
I think not just the fact that it's nothing that we have in policy to be able to protect this, but also our social attitudes and stuff like this. It's very poor. It's very, very poor. I don't think we have a mindset of, I think we're shifting towards it entrepreneurship, especially using agribusiness, but I don't think we're there yet.
You know, one of the stories I like to give, and I hope I'm not taking up too much of your time, is that there was a tree growing in my mother's apartment. It was touching the roof, and I wanted a special place to plant it.
Yes.
So I asked friends at the City Corporation if we could plant it in Woodward Square. And the initial response was, yes, great idea. We had a meeting. The person calls me back and says, oh, Rahul, they have decided that it would cause undesirables, yes, to pick the poor black people. How I interpreted that. And I said, but that's silly. I mean, as far as I know, because I used to go to Parliament all the time and also always walk through Woodford Square, I said, for as long as I know myself, people have been making pigeon soup in milk tins in the square for the longest while. If they add breadfruit to it now...
Just makes it more hearty.
yeah. And so, yes. But coincidentally, a month before, there was a Venezuelan couple sitting on one of the benches in the square. Yes. And a branch fell and caused the woman to be hospitalized. He got hurt to the hospital. I said, look, because one of the fear was that breadfruit could fall on somebody and hurt them. I said, I'd rather breadfruit falls on me and I can take it home and cook it than to have a tree fall on me, yes, and kill me. So they find every excuse not to not to let you plant in public places and so on. It's been horrible. And I've planted in schools, and the CPAP crews would come and destroy the trees and so on. It's been... So what we opted by doing is one per family. Yes, a family would take care of its own tree for its own purposes and so on.
So how can people get involved with helping you with this initiative, giving away
Honestly,
trees?
I don't need any help.
Really?
It's nothing. You just drive around and you give out the trees. And a beautiful story in Tobago at a time. My wife and I would be driving around in a van we have. And when I see people tending to the garden, I'll call out to them, do you want a breadfruit tree? And timidly they would say no, because I figure you have something to sell.
Yes.
I say, it's free. So then they would come. And this particular man comes to collect his tree, says, wait. Runs in his house and brings me the most gorgeous zabuka. You can imagine. Wonderful. I said, this poor man doesn't know that zabuka more expensive than what I gave him. But that is the nature of our people, yes? And,
so we have it in us. We have it in us for this community support. We just need the policymakers to kind of get behind us and help the people.
Like our Ministry of Agriculture, let me refer to our outgoing Minister of Agriculture. Hopefully they come up with something better. He has... I said, sir, all you have to do is ask them to produce more. Because the more they produce, the more I'll buy and more give away. I mean, the small amount that they produce is enough. You say, how can other people get involved? For one, we don't take donations. It's something I comfortably do out of my own pocket. And there isn't enough to say, well, for one, I don't want to have to hire anybody, yes, because I'd rather spend the money on trees than salaries and so on. And I can continue doing, at the rate they produce the trees, comfortably doing it on my own.
But I do see this initiative as one that needs a certain level of awareness for people to know what's going on. So do you have a social media or just something?
I'm busy on Facebook and so on. I haven't given an interview like this. We got a lovely write-up in a newspaper last weekend. And that just sort of happened, but I don't go looking for those things because my wife tells me, Rahul, you're famous enough. And the whole thing is, if people know, and there's like contact information on the last page of the book, that they can drive by, blow the horn, and get a breadfruit tree, yes, and not have to wait for me to bring it to your community and so on. And we are kept busy with that,
Do you go into all communities, or how can people come to get breadfruit from you?
All they have to do is come to my address, blow the horn, ring the bell, and and somebody comes out and gives them a tree.
And they can find all of this information online, or would you like to?
It's all online.
All online.
All online.
So I know we have to wrap shortly, but I wanted to show you that it's not just, the book comes in 3 forms, guys. So we have the actual, the first part of the story, it's the full-size book. And then there's a coloring book as well for children. And then I believe there's a mini book.
Yeah, I think you have one somewhere there.
Yes, I don't know if I have it on me. But yes, a mini flip book as well, right? And we have the book up on the screen for you to see. Various pictures were showing throughout the interview. And I actually just wanted to give a little read of the first part of the story. I'll just read about 2-3 pages. And I really do hope that you guys enjoy. So this is The Breadfruit 3 by Raul Bermudez.
Can I just add something?
For sure.
If you go to my Facebook page, you'll see one of my grandchildren reading the full book. Yes, at an event Alta had 2 Sundays ago. They wanted me to read, and I get very emotional just thinking about it. And so they allowed him to read and so on. And so if you wanted to hear the story today, you could just go to our Facebook page.
What is that Facebook page?
Breadfruittrees.com.
Breadfruittrees.com.
It will take you to...
So the website is breadfruittrees.com, and once you go there, you can find all the information.
It takes you to Facebook, and Facebook has all those things happening there.
All right, that's beautiful. So I'm gonna give you a little tease, and then you can head to the Facebook to hear the full story read by his beautiful
grandson.
Grandson. Okay. So it was another peaceful Sunday in the village of Providence. Evelyn Peters, a young widow, stood looking out her kitchen window. From her hillside home, her eyes traced the outline of a docked cruise ship. It sat perfectly where the Caribbean Sea met the distant shores of the city, Scarborough. As the calm blueness caressed the shores of her homeland, Tobago, Evelyn's thoughts drifted to the Scarborough market, where she would occasionally stroll with her husband on Sunday mornings. Their time together redefined the meaning of Tobago love, as they openly displayed their love for each other. Holding hands, they would enjoy each other's company anywhere. Memories of happier times mingled with the present, and Evelyn felt a mix of longing and hope. Suddenly, incoming footsteps prompted her to snap out of her memory. With a heart of determination and a smile that hid her struggles, she focused on managing the household after the untimely passing of Mr. Peters. So that already tells you so much about where the story is heading. It definitely intrigues me. I think the first time I read it, just reading that part made me want to just read the rest of it to find out what happens next. Because it's a story that seems about love, about family especially, and togetherness. And then, as we spoke about before, it touches on a bunch of other things that children can learn from, not just for right now, but for the rest of their lives. So I do think that this is a very thorough story.
Thank you. Can I hire you to read in schools for me? You do that beautifully, huh?
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. So as we wrap this amazing interview and amazing story, it's very beautiful to meet you, Raul, by the way. So just to let you know, the Breadfruit 3 story and the coloring books are available on Amazon and at Sharon's Bookstore in Trinity Mall, Paper-Based Bookshop in Port of Spain, Scribbles and Quills in Chagonas. So you can go any parts of the country and you can get the book. So all proceeds go towards the purchase of breadfruit trees for needy families on the islands of Trinidad and Tobago. All right, any last words at all for our viewers?
No more than to thank you for this beautiful experience.
Of course.
It was the first for me, and I would allow it to happen again now that I know how easy it is. So you've made it easy, comfortable.
Thank you so very much for your kind words. And I do hope that, thank you for coming on, and I hope that you have a beautiful day. For our viewers, we're just going to take a short break, and we will be right back with you shortly. Stay with us.
You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that split arrangement.
In the studio, now you don't need to register nothing. You don't need, we can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit, and then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate
many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and, I have a great concept, but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
We believe we defend criminals and we manipulated the law and we exploiting the system.
A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
The best for your baby is at thebesttoys.com. From the best strollers, car seats, baby carriers, high chairs, booster seats, rockers, jumpers and bouncers, walkers, baby blankets, feeding accessories, bathtubs. Visit us in-store at Forces Flagship McLean. Shop online now at thebesttoys.com. Order via call or WhatsApp at 332-BABY. And remember, we have the best toys at the best prices.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm nothing to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement. If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
of the
not no.
Let's go to the last part.
Hello and welcome back to the program. So I did just want to take some time to discuss some news that would have come out of the last couple of days. So Hope, the political party, bows out of the 2025 general elections. So this is coming from a press release. Hope leader Timothy Hamill-Smith stated that the political party is bowing out of the race for the 2025 general elections, stating that they've not garnered enough momentum and support to carve out a winnable space. This comes 2 weeks before nomination day. The release also says, and I quote, "Our country needs visionary leadership," and goes to say that they trust that the party winning the election will seek to unify the country around a single vision. And then they go on to thank their supporters. I really think that this is a perfect example or an exemplary response for a party knowing when it is that they're not ready. I do think that them stating that they support the winning party I just found that it was exemplary for how they handled the entire situation. I want to just move on to another little story that I really hope that you would enjoy. When I first saw it, I was amazed at what's being done right now. So this is coming out of a CNN business report. A UK startup thinks that humans can be living underwater by the year 2027. So take a look at this video to see more.
Imagine living in a house like this. It looks pretty cool, if a bit out of place, and that's because it is. It's actually designed to be at the bottom of the sea.
It's built by a startup based in the southwest UK with ambitious plans for humans to live underwater by 2027.
Our motto is to make humans aquatic. Not just certain humans, all humans.
So we know all this stuff about our solar system and beyond, but we don't know what's on the bottom of our own oceans. I want to go live there so I can learn.
Huge.
A lot of space, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not at all claustrophobic. So if you can imagine a stateroom here with a bed looking out at that.
Yeah. Divers have never lived in such luxury.
I think that's a fair statement. All the other habitats were very utilitarian. You could come down via submarine and never get wet, never have to study scuba, never have to do anything but just experience it. That opens up access to the ocean to millions.
Jacques Cousteau's 1962 continental shelf system was one of the first experiments in underwater living environments. But Deep's ambitions are on another scale. Their main focus is to facilitate scientific research, aiming for people to live and work around 200 meters down for 28 days at a time. The designs for their larger Sentinel model include bedrooms, flushing toilets, and even hot showers. But there's one big question that came straight to my mind.
What if there's a leak?
Yeah. There are 4 possible ways of leaving the habitat in various types of emergency.
Do you imagine one day towns, villages?
Our Sentinel habitat is a module. Those modules can be bolted together, so the possibility for subsea villages is absolutely there.
Would people want to live there, do you think?
I would, absolutely.
To make the enormous parts required for the system, the company's developed a technique using welders on robotic arms. The parts are built one layer of steel at a time.
Every other breath we take is thanks to oxygen produced by the ocean. The ocean is a major carbon sink. Our goal is to help understand that and all of the other myriad ways that the ocean benefits us all, whether we recognize it or not.
Wow, wow, wow. Can humans really live underwater by the year 2027? That's just now. That's just now. Would you want to live underwater in one of those parts? I do think that human innovation has reached heights that I wouldn't have even considered. So it was beautiful to see what is being done and what can be done. So with that, it brings us to the end of our show today. I wanted to, of course, leave you with a little bit of a quote about what happened today. So nobody is going to fix the world for us, but working together, making use of technological innovations and human communities alike, we might just be able to fix it ourselves. And that is by Jemias Casio. It's coming off of the backs of what we would have spoken about today with the Breadfruit 3 by Raul Bermudez. We have to work together to sustain our own future. So again, with that, it brings us to the end of our show today. I just wanted to remind you that you can find us on our YouTube or on our Facebook, where you can leave your comments and suggestions for us to engage with you. So head to WESN.cc to engage with us now, and your comments can be featured on AM Prime. I do hope that you have a good day, that you stay inspired, and that you stay safe. Bye-bye.
WESN.
Do you need treatment for obesity or any related abdominal procedures? The community hospital now offers minimally invasive laparoscopic surgery done by an American-trained, board-certified surgeon with over 20 years' experience. Give us a call at 235-5479 for more information.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier